Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're really digging into something foundational, that promise, the post-war American idea. Work hard, go to school, and you'll be secure.
Yeah. And we're putting that whole idea under the microscope.
Our mission today is to pull out those core financial ideas that, well, they really separate the wealthy from the middle class. We want to define what the rat race actually is.
Those mechanisms that trap people.
Exactly, and lay out the knowledge you really need to get to, genuine financial independence.
It's a crucial look because that traditional advice, the stuff handed down for generations, it's basically hit a brick wall.
Right.
Our sources today show this perfectly. It's through the eyes of this highly educated mother, an accountant. She did everything her parents told her. Study hard, get good grades, get that high-paying job with great benefits.
Followed the plan to a T.
Flawlessly. Graduated with honors. Her husband, an engineer, became a patent lawyer. I mean, by any conventional standard, they were nailing it, doing everything right.
And yet, they felt squeezed. They realized their retirement wasn't growing like they expected, not without them maxing out contributions themselves.
And that guaranteed pension security their parents had, gone, just vanished.
So that promise of security, it just doesn't guarantee success anymore, and that's the crisis we're facing, isn't it?
It really is. And the problem, funnily enough, was actually called out by her own teenage son back in '96. He was just completely bored with school. And his protest was, well, pretty profound. He basically asked, why should I waste time studying subjects I'm never going to use in real life?
He's voicing that changing economic reality. He saw the paradoxes, didn't he?
Totally. Bill Gates drops out of Harvard, becomes the richest guy in America. He points to Michael Jordan, Madonna, cultural icons making fortunes.
Right. Not exactly academics.
And even this multi-million-dollar baseball pitcher, apparently labeled mentally challenged by his classmates.
Yeah.
He saw that academic success didn't equal financial success.
And his conclusion to his own parents, who were educated, working hard, it must have stung.
Oh, he was devastating. But accurate. He said, if I follow your advice, I'll wind up just like you guys, working harder and harder, only to pay more taxes and end up in debt. Ouch.
Wow. That forces a rethink, doesn't it?
It was a moment of clarity for the mother. She realized that advice, the stuff that worked before maybe 1945, when the whole economic structure was different.
Pensions, lower taxes for most.
Exactly. That advice could be disastrous now. The education needed had fundamentally shifted. It's not just about academics or professional skills anymore.
It's financial literacy.
That's it. How can we expect kids to succeed when they get credit cards before they even finish high school, but they've never had a single practical class on money or investing?
Or a compound interest.
Which brings us right to the core conflict, the reason for this deep dive. The sources contrast these two dads, right? Two huge influences in one life.
Yeah, you have the biological poor dad, highly educated, superintendent of education, but struggled financially his whole life.
And then the rich dad, entrepreneurial, self-taught mentor, focused on money skills, retired at 47. Right. And by comparing their philosophies, we can maybe unlock some of those secret rules the wealthy seem to play by.
So the ultimate goal here is learning how to shift from working for money
to having money work for you. That's the game changer.
Okay, let's unpack that core conflict in education, because it really feels like the fork in the road that most people just miss.
It is. Both these dads, they valued learning immensely, but the outcomes they focused on were completely different.
Poor dad's advice was standard, wasn't it? Work for a big company, climb that corporate ladder. Security.
The traditional path. Rich dad. He advised owning the corporation, or at least owning the systems that run the ladder.
So the education they pushed for was different too.
Completely different subjects. Poor dad emphasized scholastic professional skills. How to be that smart person, the technical expert in a specific field.
The indispensable employee, sort of.
Right. Rich dad encouraged learning financial and communication skills, the ability to hire those smart people, manage them, leverage their technical knowledge.
That distinction is huge. One path makes you a highly paid employee.
And the other makes you an owner, an investor, a system breeder. Totally different mindsets.
And having these two strong opposing forces in his life, well, it created this constant dilemma for the young Kiyosaki.
It forced him, as he said, to constantly think and ultimately choose a way of thinking for myself. He couldn't just accept one view. He had to weigh the results of each philosophy.
You can see that clash in their basic beliefs, can't you? Like their view on money itself.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
One dad, the love of money is the root of all evil. Classic line. The other dad jumps right in. No, the lack of money is the root of all evil. Completely opposite.
What about risk? That's always a big one.
Yeah. One says, play it safe with money, don't take risks. The other, you must learn to manage risk. Safety is just an illusion.
Okay, now the big one. The one that messes with the whole American dream narrative.
Yeah.
The house.
Ah, yes. The house.
Oh.
Poor dad. Our home is our largest investment and our greatest asset. Standard belief, right?
Absolutely. Everyone thinks that.
Rich dad just dismissed it, flat out. My house is a liability, he said. And if your house is your largest investment, you're in trouble.
Whoa, okay, we need to dig into that because that sounds completely backwards to most people. A liability.
It does sound backwards, but it's about his definition, which is purely based on cash flow. Does it put money in your pocket or take money out?
Okay.
An asset, for him, generates income. A liability costs you money, your primary home. Every single month, money goes out for the mortgage, property taxes, insurance, repairs.
It's definitely an expense.
Exactly. So if the single biggest thing you've invested in is constantly draining cash, you're structurally limiting your ability to buy things that actually produce cash. True assets.
That makes sense financially, but I mean, what about the stability, the roof over your head, the tax breaks on interest? Isn't there value there? Doesn't that stability kind of function like a psychological asset, letting you focus elsewhere?
Yeah, that's a fair point about stability, yeah. But the core issue Rich Dad was hitting was the financial limitation. And this connects directly to how they handle scarcity or wanting things.
How so?
Poor Dad's go-to reaction when faced with something expensive was often, I can't afford it. End of story.
Stops the thinking right there.
Exactly. Rich Dad taught the complete opposite habit. Insist on asking, okay, how can I afford it?
And that's not just semantics. It's like a mental exercise.
Precisely. Rich Dad argued saying, I can't afford it is mental laziness. It lets the brain off the hook, right? It atrophies that financial muscle. But asking, how can I afford it, forces your brain to work. To analyze, get creative, find solutions. It strengthens your financial IQ every time you do it. He believed our mind is our greatest asset, and a well-trained mind can create wealth almost out of thin air.
Which leads perfectly into lesson 1, doesn't it? The absolute core idea. The poor and the middle class work for money. The rich have money work for them.
Yes, and this wasn't taught with a lecture. It was taught through, well, a pretty brutal real-world experience.
The famous 10 cents an hour job.
That's the one. Young Robert and his friend Mike asked Rich Dad how to get rich. So Rich Dad offers them a job in his store. 10 cents an hour. This is 1956, mind you. Intentionally exploitative pay.
And they took it.
They took it. Worked for 3 weeks. Cleaning, stacking shelves, missing baseball games, feeling totally exploited, frustrated, angry, just like they saw the adult workers around them feeling every day.
And eventually, Robert snapped, demanded a raise, threatened to quit.
And Rich Dad just smiled. Because that anger, that frustration, that was the teaching moment.
Why was the anger key?
Because, as Rich Dad explained, real learning needs passion, energy, a burning desire. If they just passively accepted the 10 cents, he couldn't have taught them anything. He let life push them around just like it pushes adults around.
Making them react out of fear.
Fear of being broke, yeah. Working for a tiny paycheck, letting anger build up, but never actually changing their situation.
Yeah.
That was the pattern he wanted them to see.
And he used that moment to test their emotions too. Offered them raises, right? Big ones for kids back then. $1 an hour. $2.
Huge raises. Their little kid brains must have been screaming, take it, take the money.
But they didn't.
They stayed quiet. They thought about the lesson. Rich Dad explained that the whole pattern of working for money is driven by 2 really powerful emotions. Fear and greed.
Fear gets you into the job.
Right, the fear of not paying the bills. That motivates the hard work, sets the trap. Then the paycheck kicks in, and that triggers greed, the desire for nicer things, luxuries, which means you need more money, so you work harder.
And the cycle continues.
Exactly. If you don't control those emotions, money runs your life. You become its slave. By refusing the raise, the boys chose to pause, to think, not just react emotionally. They started looking for a way to make money work for them instead of just working harder for a bigger paycheck.
Okay, so that emotional control is key. But let's talk about the trap itself. If the goal is escaping the need to work for money, what's the specific mechanism that keeps most people, even high earners, stuck? You called it the rat race.
The rat race. It's that predictable path, isn't it? The one most educated people follow. You do well in school, graduate, Land to secure, often highly skilled job, doctor, lawyer, engineer, accountant.
The good jobs.
The good jobs that come with high income. And what happens when you start making good money?
Credit card offers flood in.
Exactly. Mass credit. And the shopping starts. Then comes the pressure, right?
Yeah.
Keeping up appearances. The lifestyle often needs two incomes. So you buy the big house, the nice cars, all the consumer stuff you think signals success.
But the cash demands just explode. So you work harder, chase promotions, get more specialized skill.
Right. But as your income climbs, guess what else climbs?
Taxes, property taxes, income taxes, Social Security.
All of it. You get that big, impressive paycheck, but you look at it and think, where did it all go?
Might put a bit into a 401k or some mutual funds.
Maybe. But the new furniture, the fancy vacation, that goes on the credit card. And suddenly, this couple is totally trapped. They're working, sure. But who are they really working for?
The company owners, obviously.
Yes, but also, primarily, the government through taxes and the bank through mortgage interest and credit card debt.
And then they tell their own kids, go to school, get a good job.
Trapping the next generation in the exact same cycle. It just repeats, often right up until retirement, when maybe there's a little relief, but often not much.
So escaping this, it demands that foundational financial literacy. And rule number one, the absolute bedrock, is knowing the difference between an asset and a liability. Sounds simple.
Sounds dead simple, but failing to make that distinction is the main reason most people struggle financially. They spend their lives buying liabilities they genuinely think are assets.
Okay, let's nail down Rich Dad's definition again, because it's purely about cash flow, not complex accounting rules.
Exactly. Super simple. An asset puts money in your pocket. It generates income. A liability takes money out of your pocket. It costs you money. That's it.
So if you spend your life buying assets,
You get rich. If you spend your life buying liabilities, even really expensive ones like yachts or huge houses, you stay poor or stuck in the middle class, no matter how much you earn at your job.
we can see this clearly with those cash flow diagrams, right?
Yeah.
They tell the story. Let's start with the poor person's pattern.
The poor person's cash flow is very basic. Income comes in, usually from a
It
job,
immediately goes out.
right out again. There's
Yeah.
necessary expenses. Food, basic rent, clothes. There's usually nothing in the asset column and few, if any, major liabilities beyond maybe some small debts. It's pure month-to-month survival.
Okay. Now the middle class. This is where the trap is, as you said, brilliantly hidden.
This is the dangerous one.
Mhm.
Job income goes up, sometimes significantly.
Yeah.
But look what else goes up simultaneously. Expenses, often mandatory ones like higher taxes, commuting costs, and crucially, their liabilities column swells.
Mortgage, car loans, student loans, credit cards.
All of it. Their income and expenses rise together. That's lifestyle inflation. It creates this constant struggle, just trying to stay afloat. They might look wealthy because they have lots of stuff, lots of liabilities, but they think that stuff, especially the house, is an asset. In reality, it's sinking their financial foundation.
Now, contrast that with the wealthy person's cash flow diagram. It looks inverted.
Totally inverted.
Mhm.
For the wealthy, the asset column is the engine. Those assets, stocks, bonds, income-generating real estate, notes, royalties, they produce income.
Dividends, interest, rent.
Right. And where does that income primarily go?
Back into the asset column.
Bingo. Reinvested to buy more assets, which then generate even more income. Meanwhile, their expenses and liabilities are kept relatively low compared to the income pouring in from the assets. That is the definition of having money work for you. It creates this powerful compounding effect. The asset column gets so deep it just automatically buys more assets.
You mentioned notes and royalties in there. Just quickly, what are those in this context? People think stocks and real estate mainly.
Good question. Yeah, we default to stocks and real estate. But notes are basically IOUs, where someone owes you money. Could be a loan you made or a secured debt you bought. It pays you regular interest income.
Okay.
And royalties are payments for using something you own, intellectual property like a book or music, rights to resources like oil or gas, or even licensing deals.
Yeah.
These are like the purest form of passive income, right? They generate cash flow while you sleep, zero ongoing labor required. That's the ultimate goal for that asset column.
So it circles back again. Your professional skills, your job, that lets you make money, earn the income.
Right, but your financial IQ, that determines what you do with the money after you make it, how much you keep, how long you keep it, and critically, how hard that money works for you. Financial struggle often isn't about low income. It's about financial illiteracy and having a cash flow pattern that just sends money straight out the door to pay for liabilities.
Okay, so The journey to wealth, according to Rich Dad, it's about mastering two things, really. First, your own mind, your emotions, and second, the actual financial mechanisms, the legal structures. Let's start with the mind-controlling fear and greed.
Yeah, fear and greed, they're the psychological levers, the puppet strings that pull most people right into the rat race. Fear comes first, the fear of being broke, not paying bills. That motivates getting a job.
The initial push.
Right. Then comes greed, or maybe just intense desire for the nice things money buys.
Yeah.
That motivates the spending, the lifestyle inflation, the need for more income. Rich Dad's whole approach was about creating a pause, a gap between feeling those emotions and acting on them, so you could actually think.
So when fear hits panic about bills, the typical reaction is scramble for a job or work harder at the current one.
Which Rich Dad called a short-term solution to a long-term problem. It treats the symptom, the lack of cash right now, but not the underlying cause, which is relying solely on a paycheck. And even wealthy people can get trapped by emotion. The fear of losing their wealth can make them super conservative, afraid to take smart risks. They become, as he put it, high-paid slaves to protecting what they have, rather than growing it intelligently. The goal is to use fear or desire as fuel for analysis, not just knee-jerk reaction.
And once you get that emotional control, your imagination can kick in. That leads to lesson 5, the rich invent money. It's about creativity, not just having capital to start with.
Absolutely. Think about that Alexander Graham Bell story. He invented the telephone, right? He offered to sell the patent and his little startup company to Western Union, the giant of communication back then.
How much did he ask for?
A mere $100,000. Western Union, totally focused on their existing technology. The telegraph just laughed. They called the telephone a ridiculous toy.
And missed out on billions.
Trillions, eventually. They missed this massive opportunity right in front of them because they couldn't imagine the future.
Yeah.
Their thinking was stuck.
That really illustrates it. Opportunities are popping up constantly in housing, tech, consumer needs. But most people are just so focused on job security, the next paycheck, they don't even see them.
Right. Financial genius.
Yeah.
It needs the technical know-how, understanding accounting, investing, sure. But just as important, it needs courage, guts, audacity to act on an idea. Rich people are often innovators, spotting gaps, taking calculated risks. The poor and middle class, they're looking for safety, certainty. And guess what? That's exactly what they get. Safety from risk, yes, but also safety from opportunity.
We even saw that spark of innovation in that first little business the boys started, the comic book library. Working for free forced them to think differently.
It was a perfect mini lesson in wealth building. They gathered up discarded comics-free inventory, opened a library in Mike's basement, charged kids 10 cents admission. Passive income stream right there.
And crucially, they hired Mike's sister.
Yes. Hired her as the librarian for $1 a week. So they learned 4 huge things. How to generate passive income, how to manage an employee, how to deal with expenses and taxes, paying the sister, and the big one, how to have money work for them even when they weren't physically there. They invented their income stream through a system, not just through their own labor. Hashtag B, the power of the corporation and tax history. Lesson 4.
Okay, let's shift to that second sphere. Mastering the financial mechanisms. And a massive piece of this is understanding the legal game, especially lesson 4. Taxes and the power of corporations.
This is huge. Most people feel like they work hard and then, bam, the government takes a huge chunk first.
Yeah.
It feels unfair. And the history of income tax in the U.S., it's fascinating. Initially, it was only supposed to be levied on the rich.
Right, the masses actually voted for it. The Robin Hood idea, take from the rich, give to the poor.
Exactly. But that initial acceptance opened Pandora's box. Once the government had the legal right to take a slice of income,
Their appetite just grew.
it's insatiable. And the tax burden quickly trickled down, ironically, to hammer the middle class, the very people who voted for it. The rich, meanwhile, they adapt. They hire the smartest lawyers and accountants to lobby politicians and create legal loopholes that favor structured wealth.
And the main loophole, the biggest secret Rich Dad talked about, is the corporation. How does setting up a corporation fundamentally change the game?
A corporation is basically a legal shield. It's just a structure, a file folder with legal documents, as he called it. But it creates a barrier between your personal finances and your business or investments. The key difference is the tax flow. Think about a typical employee.
Okay.
You earn money, your income. Then you get taxed heavily on it, maybe 30%, 40% is gone right off the top.
Yeah.
Then you get to spend whatever is left over. You're spending after-tax dollars.
Right, your spending power is already cut significantly.
Correct. Now look at the corporate flow. It's flipped. The corporation earns income first. Then it spends everything it possibly can on legitimate business expenses. And the law allows for a ton of deductions, car payments, maybe health club dues, certain travel expenses framed as board meetings, all paid with pre-tax dollars.
Ah, pre-tax, that's the key.
That's the magic word. The corporation is only taxed on the profit that's left after all those expenses are paid. It's one of the biggest legal ways the rich accelerate wealth building and slash their tax bill compared to employees.
So employees are taxed on gross income, corporations on net profit after expenses. Huge difference.
Massive. And it's not just taxes. The corporation provides critical legal protection. We live in a lawsuit-happy world, right? The rich often structure things so they control assets through corporations and trusts, but they don't technically own them in their personal name. They field those assets from creditors or lawsuits. The poor and middle class, they try to own everything directly, making themselves vulnerable. One lawsuit could wipe them out. Rich Dad's mantra was kind of, control everything, own nothing personally. Hashtag C. Working to learn, not for money. Lesson 6.
This connects nicely to Lesson 6, which is about career strategy. Work to learn, not for money. Poor Dad pushed specialization, right?
Yeah.
Get that PhD, join the union, become the absolute best at one very specific thing.
Yeah, expert track. Rich Dad argued for the opposite, be a generalist. Know a little about a lot, he'd say. Focus on acquiring transferable skills, not just deep niche knowledge.
And his critique of over-specialization feels pretty relevant today.
Very relevant. If you're super specialized, say, a highly paid airline pilot focused only on one type of aircraft, or a doctor specializing in a procedure that's becoming obsolete due to technology or changing healthcare models, you're incredibly vulnerable if your specific niche disappears or changes dramatically.
Your skills aren't easily transferable.
Exactly. Rich Dad emphasized needing a synergy of skills for true financial IQ. He listed 4 core ones.
What were they again?
Okay, first, accounting. Financial literacy, being able to read the numbers, understand financial statements. It's the language of money.
Got it.
Second, investing. The science of making money make more money. Understanding different strategies, vehicles, risk.
Makes sense.
Third, markets. Understanding supply and demand. Knowing why things are priced the way they are. When to buy, when to sell. Basic economics, really.
Okay.
And fourth, law. Understanding the rules of the game, tax advantages, corporate structures for asset protection, knowing how the system works legally. Relying only on one technical skill is risky. It's the combination of these 4 that creates real financial power.
And tying into that generalist idea is the skill that so many technically brilliant people overlook. Sales and communication. You mentioned the story of the writer.
Oh yeah, the Singapore newspaper writer, master's degree in English Lit, apparently a fantastic writer in the academic sense, but she completely bristled at the suggestion that she should learn sales or improve her communication skills to sell her work. Found it offensive even.
Meanwhile, Kiyosaki himself admits he wasn't a great writer academically.
Terrible writer, he says. But he became a best-selling author. Why? Because he deliberately went to Xerox, took a sales job, and learned how to sell, how to communicate, how to handle rejection.
That's the missing piece for so many talented people.
Totally. The world is full of brilliant engineers, artists, inventors who struggle financially. They perfect their craft, their technical skill, but they ignore the business side the system's needed to bring it to market, and crucially, the ability to sell or communicate its value.
And today, that skill selling, communicating, it's everything. Selling yourself, your ideas to investors, pitching a project, influencing people.
And just handling the fear of rejection that comes with putting yourself or your ideas out there. That's probably the core competency for success in almost any field now.
Okay, so let's say someone gets it. They understand the cash flow, the assets versus liabilities, the corporate stuff. Why do they still often fail to break out? Rich Dad said it comes down to internal roadblocks.
Yeah, even if you're financially literate, these internal obstacles can stop you cold. He identified 5 big ones: fear, cynicism, laziness, bad habits, and arrogance.
Let's tackle fear first, the fear of losing money.
It's universal, right?
Yeah.
Nobody likes losing money, but the difference is how you handle that fear. Poor people, or those with a poor mindset, they avoid failure at all costs. They play it safe, maybe diversify into meaninglessness just to feel balance. They play not to lose.
Whereas the rich.
The rich understand that losing is part of winning. Failure isn't the opposite of success. It's often a stepping stone to success. They know they'll lose sometimes, but they learn from it, get stronger.
He used that, remember the Alamo analogy, didn't he? A massive defeat that became a source of strength, a rallying cry. Playing it safe guarantees you miss the big wins that involve some calculated risk.
Exactly. Then comes cynicism. Rich Dad called it noise. Cynics are critics. They stand on the sidelines and point out why something won't work. Oh, real estate. Too risky. Too much hassle. I don't want to fix toilets.
Right, the instant dismissal.
Peter Lynch, the famous fund manager, talked about this too. Always doom and gloom predictions out there. You have to ignore the noise. Winners analyze instead of criticize.
So the winner looks at the fixing toilets problem differently.
They ask, okay, fixing toilets is a hassle. How can I invest in real estate without fixing toilets? The answer isn't avoid real estate. The answer is hire a property manager.
Solves the problem, lets you scale.
Exactly. It removes the excuse and lets the investor buy more properties, getting them out of the rat race faster. Cynicism is expensive. It keeps people clinging to tiny returns, like a 5% CD, while dismissing something potentially safer and higher yielding, like maybe a 16% tax lien certificate, just because they don't understand it. Their doubt becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Okay, just clarify that tax lien certificate again. How does that work?
Right. So if a property owner doesn't pay their property taxes, the county or municipality needs that money. They can issue a tax lien certificate. An investor can buy that certificate, basically paying the overdue taxes for the owner.
Okay.
The government then legally requires the property owner to repay the investor the back taxes, plus a legally mandated, often high, interest rate. And the debt is secured by the property itself. So it could be a relatively safe, high-yield investment, but the cynic just dismisses it as too weird or too risky without actually analyzing it.
Got it. Okay, next obstacle, laziness. But not just physical laziness.
No, often it's mental laziness. People get busy, stressed, and they avoid things they don't want to deal with, like managing their finances or looking after their health. Rich Dad said the cure for financial laziness is actually a little bit of greed,
How so?
asking what's in it for me, thinking about the better life, the freedom that financial independence brings. That desire can overcome the inertia, the laziness of staying stuck in the comfortable discomfort of the rat race.
Okay, then bad habits. This seems crucial.
Huge. Rich Dad argued our habits define our future more than our education does. And the key bad financial habit of the poor and middle class is how they handle bills. They pay everyone else first.
The government, the landlord or mortgage company, the credit card companies.
Everyone gets paid first. And who gets paid last, if there's anything left?
Themselves, their savings, their investments.
Exactly. If at all. The Rich Dad habit, the core of Lesson 5, is pay yourself first. Flip it completely.
Fund your asset column first, before the bills.
Before the bills. Now here's the twist. What happens if you pay yourself first, put money into assets, and then you realize, uh-oh, you're short for the bills?
Panic. Dip into savings. Sell the assets.
That's the middle class reaction. Rich Dad's approach.
Yeah.
Let the pressure build. The discomfort, the screaming creditors, the tax collector breathing down your neck. That pressure becomes motivation. It forces your financial genius to wake up and figure out how to generate more income.
So you don't raid your investments to pay bills. You use the pressure to get smarter, stronger, create new cash flow.
Precisely. It forces innovation and financial muscle building instead of weak resignation and asset depletion.
Okay, the last obstacle. Arrogance. How did he define that?
Simply as ego plus ignorance. It's thinking you know everything or that what you don't know isn't important. Rich Dad said, what I know makes me money. What I don't know loses me money. If you're aware you're ignorant about something, taxes, investing, whatever you need to either educate yourself fast or hire an expert who does know. Arrogance is believing you know better when you don't, or dismissing crucial knowledge. That's incredibly costly and keeps people stuck, relying on bad or outdated information.
So overcoming these requires conscious effort and, crucially, action. Rich Dad gave specific to-dos, didn't he?
Yes, practical steps. First, philosophically, stop doing what isn't working. If your current financial strategy isn't getting you where you want to go, stop doing it. It's insane to keep doing the same thing and expect different results. You have to actively seek out new formulas, read how-to books, take courses, learn new approaches.
But then you have to actually do something in the real world.
Right. And his big action advice was make lots of offers. Don't just browse listings waiting for the perfect deal, the right price to magically appear. You have no idea what the right price is until you start negotiating.
So just throw offers out there.
Make offers, but use escape clauses. Simple things like, this offer is subject to the approval of my business partner, even if your partner's your cat, or subject to satisfactory financing.
Huh. Okay, that takes the pressure off. It makes it a numbers game, not a high-stakes gamble on each offer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It makes it fun, like a game, not terrifying. Removes the fear of commitment early on. And crucially, you have to focus your desire. Use the power of focus. Make your assets buy your luxuries, not your paycheck.
That was the story about the teenager wanting a car, right?
Yeah, his friend's 16-year-old son was desperate for a car. Instead of his buying him one or telling him to get a job, the dad gave him $3,000, but told him he had to use it to trade stocks first. The profits could buy the car.
So the intense desire for the car became the fuel.
For learning about investing, the kids started devouring information, watching financial news instead of music videos, researching companies. He made mistakes, lost some money initially, sure, but the education he gained, the experience in the market, that was the real win, way more valuable than the $3,000 or the car itself. It channeled that greed into productive learning.
And find the deals. You can't pay retail.
Absolutely not. You have to look where the bargains are, focus on change and distress. That means foreclosure lists, bank REOs,
Yeah.
real estate owned, estate sales, maybe auctions, not just the pretty listings on the MLS that everyone else sees.
Because the profit is made when you buy.
That's the core principle. Rich Dad told a story about a neighbor buying a condo for $100,000, planning to wait for it to appreciate. Rich Dad bought the identical unit next door for $50,000 because he shopped at the bank's foreclosure department. Who made money?
Rich Dad made $50,000 the day he bought it. The neighbor was just hoping.
Exactly. Buying right is everything. And don't forget the power of heroes. As adults, we kind of stop having heroes we actively try to emulate. Find financial heroes. People who've succeeded in the area you're interested in. Warren Buffett for value investing, maybe Peter Lynch for mutual funds, maybe a local real estate mogul. Study them. Read their books, analyze their strategies, understand their mindset. It makes success seem achievable. If they can do it, maybe I can too. It taps into that inspiration.
And finally, that idea of giving back. Teach and you shall receive.
Yeah, the law of reciprocity.
Yeah.
He firmly believed that the more you sincerely share your knowledge, teach others who genuinely want to learn, the more new ideas, new insights, new distinctions flow back to you. It keeps your own well of knowledge full and fresh. Generosity breeds abundance, even in ideas. So, we've covered a lot. The fundamental difference between working for money and having money work for you. It really comes down to financial intelligence, doesn't it? That's what solves financial problems, not just earning more. Money itself is just an idea.
Right. It's not about luck or finding that one big break. It's about shifting your thinking, changing your internal programming, and then taking consistent action based on proven formulas.
And every single dollar that comes into your hands, it represents a choice, a decision point about your future.
You spend it carelessly. You choose to be poor. You spend it mostly on liabilities, even nice ones. You choose the middle-class trap.
You invest it first in your mind, learning, and then consistently use it to acquire income-producing assets. That's choosing the path to wealth.
The choice is yours. Every day, every dollar. The school system isn't going to teach you this stuff. Your parents probably didn't know it to teach you. It's on you.
You have to take ownership of your financial education.
Yeah.
Nobody else will do it for you.
Okay, let's wrap up with a final thought. It challenges that common saying, it takes money to make money. Rich Dad argued that's the thinking of the, well, financially unsophisticated, the ones lacking creativity. So the question for you, the listener, is this. What single small idea or small action can you take this week? Something starting with just a few dollars, maybe even $0 initially, to begin building an asset column, something that generates cash flow, however small, rather than just focusing on working harder for a bigger paycheck. Think about it, because the real risk, it isn't in investing. The real risk lies in staying financially uneducated.